Amphibious vehicles played an important but often overlooked role during the Second World War. They connected ships to shore, crossed rivers and marshes, and supported landings across Europe and the Pacific. While the American DUKW is widely recognized, many other nations developed their own amphibious trucks, light vehicles, tanks, and specialized machines to meet the demands of varied terrain and complex operations. This video presents every major amphibious vehicle used in the war, covering transport machines, armored designs, and the specialized vehicles built for assault and engineering tasks. We will begin with the amphibious transport vehicles. The first group of amphibious machines developed during the war consisted of transport vehicles designed to move troops, supplies, and equipment across rivers, beaches, and flooded terrain. These vehicles were essential for establishing bridgeheads, maintaining logistics during island operations, and supporting mobile units in challenging environments. We will begin with the American designs. DUKW. The DUKW was an amphibious truck built by the United States to transport cargo from ship to shore. It used the chassis of the GMC CCKW truck and added a watertight hull, bilge pumps, and a propeller system for water propulsion. The DUKW played a major role in Allied amphibious operations, allowing supplies to move directly from transport ships to frontline units without relying on established ports. Ford GPA SEEP. The Ford GPA, often referred to as the SEEP, was an amphibious adaptation of the standard Jeep. It was intended for reconnaissance, river crossings, and light cargo transport. While it proved useful in calm waters, its low freeboard limited performance in rough seas. Despite these limitations, the GPA served in several theaters and inspired later improvements in amphibious light vehicles. We can now turn to the British contribution to amphibious transport during the war. Terrapin MKI and MK2. The Terrapin series was developed in the United Kingdom as a heavy amphibious transport vehicle. It featured a fully enclosed hull and was capable of carrying both troops and cargo across coastal waters and inland waterways. The MK2 variant offered improved handling and reliability. These vehicles supported Allied operations in Northwest Europe, especially in areas with extensive river systems and flooded terrain. With the transport vehicles covered, we can now turn to the amphibious tanks and armored vehicles developed for frontline combat and assault landings. We will begin with the amphibious tanks developed by the United States. LVT series. The LVT series served as the primary amphibious armored vehicles of the United States. Early LVT-1 and LVT-2 models were lightly protected and used mainly for transporting troops and supplies during Pacific Island operations. Later designs, including the LVT-4, offered improved capacity and additional defensive features. The LVTA variants incorporated turreted guns to provide supporting fire during landings. These vehicles proved essential in areas where soft terrain and coral reefs made conventional landings difficult. DD Sherman Duplex Drive Tank. The DD Sherman adapted the standard M4 Sherman for amphibious use through the addition of a flotation screen and dual propellers. It was designed to swim from landing craft to shore under its own power. The DD Sherman was employed during the Normandy landings and subsequent operations in Europe. While performance depended on sea conditions, the design demonstrated that a fully equipped tank could be used effectively in amphibious assaults. We can now turn to the amphibious tanks developed by the Soviet Union. T-38 Amphibious Tank. The T-38 was a light amphibious tank built for reconnaissance and river crossing duties. It featured thin armor and a single machine gun, making it suitable for observation rather than direct combat. The T-38 provided the Red Army with a vehicle that could traverse rivers without engineering support, although its limited protection restricted frontline use. T-40 Amphibious Tank. The T-40 was an improved successor to the T-38, offering stronger suspension, better buoyancy, and more capable armament. Some variants mounted a 20mm cannon, increasing their combat potential. Production numbers remained limited, but the T-40 contributed to early war reconnaissance and amphibious mobility. With the Soviet models covered, we can now examine the amphibious tanks developed by Japan. Type 2. Kami. The Type 2 Kami was Japan's first purpose-built amphibious tank, developed for naval landing forces. Its detachable flotation pontoons allowed it to travel over water before transitioning to land operations. Armed with a 37mm gun, it was used in several Pacific campaigns and proved effective in areas where amphibious mobility was essential. Type 3 Kachhi. The Type 3 Kachhi was a larger, more heavily armored development based on the Kami concept. It retained detachable pontoons and offered improved buoyancy and greater firepower. Although produced in small numbers, it represented Japan's most advanced amphibious tank design of the war. Alongside these tanks and armored vehicles, several nations developed specialized amphibious machines for unique operational requirements. Specialized amphibious vehicles were developed to support assault operations, carry weapons, or perform roles that standard transport or armored vehicles could not fulfill. These machines expanded the range of amphibious capabilities available to frontline forces. We will begin with the assault and fire support variants. LVTA series. The LVTA variants were armored assault versions of the standard LVT. They replaced the transport configuration with turreted armament, including 37mm or 75mm guns, allowing them to provide fire support during amphibious landings. These vehicles offered a combination of water mobility and direct fire capability, helping infantry secure beachheads under hostile conditions. Type 4 KTSU. The Japanese Type 4 Kaitsu was a specialized amphibious vehicle designed for transport and unconventional missions. Built by the Imperial Japanese Navy, it carried cargo, personnel, or torpedoes for coastal operations. The Kaitsu's watertight hull and tracked mobility allowed it to move from water onto land, and its ability to mount torpedoes reflected Japan's efforts to expand amphibious attack options late in the war. We can now turn to the smaller amphibious vehicles developed for reconnaissance and light mobility. Experimental amphibious motorcycles. Several nations experimented with amphibious motorcycles and lightweight multi-environment vehicles. These designs typically featured sealed components and detachable flotation aids. While production remained limited and most served only in trials, they demonstrated early interest in compact amphibious mobility. Improvised amphibious platforms. Field engineers in multiple armies constructed improvised amphibious rafts and motorized platforms for river crossings and equipment transport. Built from available materials, these solutions supported operations in regions where permanent bridges were absent or destroyed. Though not standardized vehicles, they played a practical role in maintaining mobility during difficult river operations. With the specialized amphibious vehicles complete, we can now turn to the prototypes and limited production designs that were tested during the war. Panzerfähre. The Panzerfähre was a German amphibious tracked ferry created to transport tanks across wide rivers. It operated as a powered pontoon and could be paired with an identical vehicle to form a floating platform capable of carrying heavy armor. Although only a few units were produced, the Panzerfähre demonstrated the value of amphibious support vehicles in environments where bridges were destroyed or unavailable. British experimental water buffalo. Test vehicles. Before adopting the American LVT series, British engineers developed several experimental amphibious vehicles, often referred to as early water buffalo concepts. These test platforms evaluated hull shapes, propulsion systems, and load capacities. While they did not enter mass production, the lessons learned contributed directly to Allied amphibious capabilities in later campaigns. We can now turn to the amphibious prototypes developed in the Soviet Union. Soviet amphibious prototypes. The Soviet Union produced several early amphibious prototypes derived from the T-37 and T-38 designs. These experimental vehicles explored improvements in buoyancy, hull shape, and armament. Although most remained in small-scale production or testing, they helped refine concepts that supported Soviet reconnaissance and river crossing operations. With the prototype designs covered, we can now conclude with a summary of the role amphibious vehicles played in the wider context of the war. Amphibious vehicles played a wider role in the Second World War than most discussions acknowledge. Nations developed transport vehicles, armored designs, and specialized machines to meet the challenges of river crossings, coastal operations, and island campaigns. From the well-known DUKW and LVT series to lesser-known prototypes and experimental platforms, these vehicles demonstrated the value of mobility across both land and water. Although many of these machines operated in limited numbers, their development contributed to a clearer understanding of how amphibious technology could support military operations. The lessons learned during the war influenced post-war engineering and the continued evolution of amphibious vehicles in armies around the world.